Very good morning. We're glad you're still with us here on Morning at NTV. It's a new dawn, this 28th day of March 2022. I'm Chris Higenyi. Before we went into the break, we were having a discussion on just about so many things. But this week that ended had the country celebrating the life of former Speaker Jacob Oulanyah. Unfortunately, protests over the quality of health services in Uganda rocked a Seattle hospital as the former speaker fought for his life. That caused a little bit of tension with tribal undertones emerging from many people across the country, of course led by the Chief Justice Oulanyah. To speak to us this morning, we have Alex Waiswa Mufumbiro, the Deputy Spokesperson for the National Unity Platform. And of course, we expected Jacob Erieru, the Chairman of the National Youth Council. He's not here with us, but let's get this discussion underway. A very warm welcome and good morning, Mr. Waiswa Mufumbiro.
Good morning, Chris. I am extremely humbled to be on set with you for the first time.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
I have been behind there watching always your presentation, so I'm equally humbled to be on NTV this morning. And greetings from the mighty National Unity Platform.
The mighty National Unity Platform. Yeah. Okay, we're going to have to understand the might a little bit later. What is your take, first and foremost, on what is widely believed to have been caused by the National Unity Platform, a new debate on tribal politics, apparently after people thought to be either agents or sympathizers of the National Unity Platform protested against poor health care in the country in Seattle as Jacob Oulanyah was fighting for his life? Is that even a good thing? A man is fighting for his life, and here is a party that is, you know, making more of a nuisance at that particular moment in time. What do you believe?
First of all, I want to send our heartfelt, sincere condolences as the National Unity Platform, but also on behalf of the office of our vision bearer, His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, and on my own behalf to the family of the late Jacob Oulanyah, who has now been so much spoken about as OJ by those who are very close to him. It is sad to lose a life. He was a very energetic person. He was a person of vigor and vibe. He was a boxer. I have seen him throw some punches in his office, and he was so much close to Golola Moses. He had admiration for sport. He was a trainer, he was a biker. That speaks much about his humorous character, being an involving person, and most importantly, he was a former of the Uganda people. He was a former student of the UPC. At legislation, he's one person you would admire when he was presenting himself on matters where he had a lot of interest, matters of corruption.
Yeah, he was always passionate.
I recognize him on the matter of corruption so much, because I have heard him consistently. He one time said, you know, I have been in this parliament, I'm the deputy speaker, but I just have my one house in Muyenga. have not yet even done one in Omoro. Where do people get all this money? That was his question. And to see that it is today that he was working on a project, big as it is though, in Omoro, it speaks that he had taken his time. Guys here rush to achieve whatever they have. So for me, I respected him so much. He spoke against corruption as if he was speaking on his last day. His speech at Kololo was extremely monumental on terms and in matters of corruption.
That's right.
Of course, I do have an issue with his leadership of the Legal Parliamentary Affairs Committee in 2005, because I have stated that the character and caliber of Oulanyah and his quick growth in the ranks of the National Resistance Movement, if they had not tampered with the Constitution 13 years ago in 2005, probably today he would be a president, because 10 years will have elapsed, or 13 years have elapsed. That is about three elections.
Sure.
His speedy run to the ranks of the NRM shows that probably he would have had chance to even be president in that time. So for me, I will humbly say that it was not good for him to have that historical lamentation of having participated and anchored.
Well, there's quite a lot that can be spoken about the man and his legacy and what the National Unity Platform makes of him, but particularly or personally your take on him. But we come on air at a time when the nation is grappling with the latest challenge in as far as developing or growing the democracy is concerned. The toxicity that has been conditioned by the tribal sentiments that were apparently put forward by the protests in Seattle. There are people who thought that the National Unity Platform was acting from behind the scenes, and this was an unfortunate campaign to undertake, especially when a man of his caliber is grappling and fighting for his life. Where does NOPU's conscience stand?
If you are, there's a saying by Dr. Chuba Okadibo that if you are emotionally attached to your tribe, religion, or political leaning, to the point where truth and justice become secondary considerations, your education is useless, your exposure is useless, and if you are susceptible to pettiness, you're also a liability to mankind. And this defines the elites that are propagating the undertone of tribalism in this country. First of all, in Seattle, I have spoken, and this is my personal opinion, I associate myself with people who are protesting the health care system of this country. The late Jacob Oulanyah is not, the protests against the late Jacob Oulanyah are also not unique.
So in other words, the National Unity Platform endorses the protests and probably planned them. We
did not plan them. We don't endorse them, but I'm telling you that you must listen to what the protests were saying. The protests, first of all, what brought about the protests? There is a plane in Seattle that has the flag of Uganda that is there, and nobody knows why it is there. Ugandans in Seattle start to investigate the plane. Who did this plane bring? Is it here for mechanical condition? Is it here for what? Ugandans discover that this plane brought a patient. They begin to investigate which type of patient can be airlifted on a plane alone. Is the patient going to give birth? Because we are used to the first daughters giving birth in Germany using the same modus operandi. So the investigations later lead that the patient is Jacob Oulanyah. In northern region, Lacho Hospital needs 2 billion shillings, okay, to have a machine that will help patients. They have sat as leaders, and that has they have not raised it. And the undertones in Seattle were saying, you are in a position of influence. You are the third person in government. When you get your life back, you must address this issue. You must address the issue that Lubowa Hospital took through Parliament, where now you're the head, $200 million. These were the voices in Seattle, and I don't want to be one of them that is going to clamp them down.
Didn't you choose didn't those actors choose a wrong platform?
Wait, they have legitimate concerns. Two, the jurisdiction and jurisprudence of what they were doing is acceptable in America. That is why you call them Ugandans living in the diaspora. They are accustomed to different cultures today. And for anybody to say that they are people power because they were putting on red, UPC is associated with red. First of all, understand that these were discounted, these were people that had discontent.
Some of them donned red berets.
And I say some of them are our people. They are our people.
Sure.
Yes, they are our people.
They were acting on behalf of the National Unity.
Not acting on behalf. The National Unity Platform is a platform of people power. It gives people the opportunity to breathe, to vent, to speak out their mind. and we do not gag people with alternative opinion, because we are not dictators. We must act different with our people from the way the regime had accustomed Ugandans.
Are you happy?
Now, we, and of course you are aware that as a party we took a position and stopped our people from continuing with the protests because there was discourse back home. We did intervene. Now, as I have said, the people who are protruding this...
Stopping them is one thing, not condemning them is another.
No, I don't want...
Especially at a time like that when a man is fighting for his life.
I will not condemn the protests in Seattle on the basis that they had a fundamental statement of improving the health care of Uganda. My brother, let me tell you, that very cancer that the speaker is suffering from, if you go to the Cancer Institute in Mulago, if they tell you how much they needed to have him admitted in Mulago, we didn't even have where he could be accommodated. Now, can we speak that at least our VIPs can have a place where they can be accommodated to get such treatment, to cut down on the costs? Because we are talking about 1.7 billion of a patient who was stage 4 cancer, and his return was nearly impossible or a miracle.
What would happen?
Just
a moment. What would happen, for example, if the National Unity Platform were in power, and then the principal, Robert Kyagulanyi, is ailing, and there is need, urgent need, and possibly a recommendation by the doctor to take him to the best possible health facility? Would it be a case of how patriotic, so to speak, or nationalistic would you be to say, no, we are not taking the principal to a facility that could actually help him recover, and we are settling for a facility that may actually lead to his demise?
It is the absolute...
Wouldn't you take him?
It is the absolute duty of anybody working around leaders to secure their health, because they are a public good.
Good.
That is not in doubt. However, it is also their responsibility, and they have the duty of accountability to the larger citizenry to prepare them a better health care scheme. Let me tell you, if we investigate even the processes, we must have, our leaders must now also understand the institutions of the National Health Insurance Policy. What is our National Health Insurance Policy in such circumstances? What is our insurance cover? These are the questions that are being voiced in Seattle. They are legitimate questions that you must not put down the carpet. Yes, they have come at a time when we are praying for a comrade who is fighting for his life. But probably it is the opportunity that they can be heard, because for so many times they have not been heard. Let me tell you, giving a deep health analysis to that very situation, he is the Speaker of Parliament.
And perhaps have the health insurance ticket.
And the third person, on television, I have seen now the Deputy Speaker say that Jacob Oulanyah had footed his transport bill of the airline. I have seen him speak that on TV. But the communication gaps from the Ministry of Information to the Ministry of Health to his close friends to the Chief Justice speaks to the questions as to why there must be a larger foundation of what happened and what happens when a person of that hierarchy is sick. You cannot keep that information in hiding. Okay. I have told you, the reason of all this in Seattle is because people were yearning to discover information. Okay. If they had told the country that the speaker is sick, he is being flown to Seattle, let's pray for him. Good. Nobody wants to get into the issues.
Now that
such that news is not broken.
That information is now clear, and you understand that perhaps the speaker personally was able to meet some of the expenses. However, there is now something that we
once he's speaker, it's no longer about
you are enjoying to stoke tribal tensions right now, as people, different political actors are calling on the National Unity Platform to, first and foremost, clear the air and perhaps apologize for the fact that this has gone to this level. What is the NUP doing to ensure that the fire is curbed? Or you intend to continue the gospel and preach it that
I was telling you that even this, to answer the tribal sentiment, even these protests are not unique to Jacob Oulanyah. Judith Babidi, a former member of parliament of Buyukwe, Ugandans living in America went on the street when she was giving birth. Okay?
Yep.
Ronald Chibule, a former powerful minister, my friend. But when his wife whose wife is fighting also against cancer in America, Ugandans protested. Where was Higenyi?
No doubt about that.
It means
you are the spokesperson, the spokesperson of the
deputy spokesperson,
so to speak, of the National Unity Platform. You are on national television. Can you take this opportunity to lessen the fire of tribal tensions that is, across the country? Wouldn't you love to be seen to be ensuring that it doesn't escalate?
You see, I don't think there are tribal tensions in the country.
You don't think so?
No. This tribalism card is being played by the dictator through his henchmen. You look at the people who are undertoning the tribal sentiments and where do they get the paycheck from? There is a paymaster. I have listened and heard the Honorable Kazora, who talked about the character and the politics of the NRA, where General Museveni would give positions just as a facade to a particular group or tribe. And the Honorable Kazora gave examples. He gave example of
very quickly.
He gave example of J.J. Odong, that he had been given that office to give face to the people of Teso. He spoke about the Honorable Wandera Kaziba, who was the vice president. He spoke about even Nduguru Gahagana.
That's a very interesting perspective.
Tribalism, and this is where you would give me a
very
minute
quickly.
or two. Tribalism is a benefit of the dictatorship, and those who bring it about, they bring it about with deceit. For example, the Chief Justice averred with the wrong facts, okay? With wrong facts. He had in law and fact by asserting that the king of Buganda, first of all, by thinking that he is an ethnic leader, he is not. Okay? Now, that was an error and a vermin on the part of the Chief Justice. He also had in law and fact when he said that the king of Buganda flew to Germany on a presidential jet instead of KLM. Now, if a person takes further deceit at that office, this is the very person who, a case before him of the Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, he denied us an opportunity to listen to the dissenting judgment of a whole judge, and that is the simplest decorum of court. Judges must be able to take on the other opinion or judgment of colleagues. So
are you saying that now, the lapse on the part of the Chief Justice to suggest that the king of Buganda took the private presidential jet instead of KLM, as actually is the fact, is something that puts you off the pedestal? Kind of, you're okay to attack, you're okay to stoke tribal tensions because the Chief Justice are...
It is the Chief Justice who is speaking about ethnic leaders.
Okay.
It is General Museveni who is appointing on ethnicity.
We're going to have to leave ethnic leaders out of this for now and stick to that fact that he made that particular statement. But earlier, you spoke about...
I anticipate that we as Ugandans and the media should ask him to apologize or resign. That his statement, the office of Chief Justice, is an office of honor.
Well, since you want the Chief Justice to apologize, you can also Apologize for some of the remarks.
We are not on record on any negative remarks. I can invite you to remind me where you have had us on record.
You've
on
not
any
come
remarks.
out on record to condemn what is arguably unbecoming behavior. The conduct, the protests, for example, in Seattle. A statement or two.
I have told
actually,
you,
you could actually say we do not associate entirely with the fact that you can dance at, well, it was literally more like dancing on a man's grave.
Again,
it wouldn't. Would you be okay if that happened to you?
If I am in,
would you be fine if that happened to you?
If I'm in charge of this country and I have broad anger against reality, I don't even want to say if it will be okay. I am sure it will happen to me. We who are occupying offices of public good, yes, I am sure that if I torment the people of Uganda,
yes,
they will put me in a currency that they feel is susceptible to them.
Okay, let's shift gear. Earlier you spoke about the JJ Odong and the fact that he was brought into the fold to appease, so to speak, the national resistance movement and the government in power right now has increasingly courted the opposition. And here we are with very set facts. The new Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Anita Among, was a former FDC. The Deputy Speaker is also a former FDC. And we seem to see what is now becoming a clear trajectory. We shall be discussing that. Let's first take a look at a report that brings us, or rather brings that particular aspect into focus.
On Friday, Anita Among and Thomas Tyayeebwa were voted as Speaker and Deputy Speaker of Parliament, respectively. Their background is rooted in the Opposition Forum for Democratic Change Party. The two joined a list of former opposition party members who have reaped big in the NRM government. Among these is Joyce Nabosa Sebugwawo, a former FDC member, and she was appointed by President Museveni, a State Minister for Information. Beatrice Anywa, also from FDC, she is now the State Minister for Environment. Christopher Chibanzanga, also from the FDC, when he joined NRM, he was appointed the State Minister for Agriculture. Edward Chwanka Sekandi, a former DP member, became a Speaker of Parliament, also a former Vice President of Uganda. Gilbert Bukenya was a member of the DP who crossed to the NRM and became a State Minister for Trade, a Minister for Presidency, and is also the former Vice President of Uganda. Florence Nachuwala Chiyingi, also from the DP, she became the State Minister for Youth and Children. Betty Kamya joined the NRM from the Uganda Federal Alliance. She was once appointed Minister of Kampala, as well as Minister of Lands, and she's the current Inspectorate of Government. These are just a few of those who have left their maiden parties to joining the NRM, gaining substantial positions in government.
We had thought that they were using that kind of recruitment to help them build a base, but apparently that is not what they have done. They've kept that, picked people from UPC, because even you remember that the late Jacob Oulanyah, may he so rest in peace, was picked from the UPC and many others.
Harold Kaija, the Deputy Secretary General of FDC, says that as a party, they mentor their members to perform at the top levels, and that is why when their members cross to the NRM, they are found competent.
The word about ideology means there are many ideologies. So ask him, okay, mention one of the ideologies. They never have any. So if you don't have an ideology, you have nowhere to go. So that is why you must speak on people who you think have ideologies of what they think must be done, are the people they come and fish from other political parties to help them try to punch their horse. It's like firefighting. That's what the NRM is doing.
However, he has scoffed at the NRM party, who are choosers of not building capacity within its own ranks, instead relying on the opposition figures.
So it breaks you, but because we have a mission, we keep recruiting leaders, training them, and positioning them.
Different people we spoke to say former opposition members should continue to advocate for what they asked for while occupying senior government positions thanks to their association with the NRM.
And here they are. I hope that now that they are in positions of influence, they'll remember where they have come from, that they'll remember the issues that they were espousing. They were talking about bad governance. It has not gone away.
Under which they have come into leadership, it has been so compromised to an extent that they look like they are pro-NRM than pro-people. But my advice to them is that they need to change that course. And
that more of candidates in opposition have brilliant ideas towards this country. So, President citing them and fetching them from where they are and bringing them to the NRM family to serve Ugandans. Me, I think it's the greatest achievement that NRM has done.
Is that when the president picked me into his cabinet, and within NRM, that caused a lot of dissatisfaction, a lot of disagreement. How can a man who has been opposing us to this extent, now he's the one going with the lead car? So I had to war within NRM.
However, Lydia Wanyoto, the chairperson of the Women's League in NRM, says every person who joins our party is given an opportunity to serve at different levels.
Serve, and then their commitment is in NRM will be known. I would like to request my senior cadres like myself to be patient and to know that there will always be time for everything. Let's embrace our colleagues who have joined the party and let's give them a chance to serve.
Juma Kiria, NTV.
Many thanks, Juma Kiria, for that report highlighting what appears to be a systematic effort by the National Resistance Movement, that is the governing party, to fetch opposition politicians from their ranks in the opposition to the government. Now, an MP, one of the speakers you heard there, said it's a good idea that they have these good ideas, and when they come and cross over, they can be able to make critical transitions into the rollout and execution of some of these ideas. Do you believe that?
I don't think so. I think his recruitment is a condensement of hope from Ugandans, because all those who have gone with him, have also been not productive anywhere. Just like I was telling you, that for him, he has been a master.
You mean, you say they've not been productive?
He has
what
been
do you mean?
A master of politics, that he gives them these offices for purposes of those who believe in them, first of all, to lose hope, that even these that you thought that can stand for you, the common people, they cannot stand. That is his greatest achievement in all those appointments that he does. Otherwise, what would be your take on people like Nachiwala Chinji today? What was her productivity at the Ministry of Youth? What is her productivity today? What would be a yardstick on people like Agra Ori? What were the yardsticks of his recruitment? And
those are
after recruitment,
those
where
are
did
but
he
just
go to?
A few
now,
of the people who have been taken on.
Of course, I want to tell you, a dictatorship that has guns and power and money and has also been around for over 36 years is prone to that style of leadership, of bribery, and political signing for continuity, because they look at the innuendo of how much
I love your choice of words. Political signing.
Yes.
This brings me to what I think is very pertinent. Political signing. Over the last 1 month, there's been an opposition politician who went on what he described as a one-man army against the National Unity Platform for what he thinks is, as you put it, a political signing under the aegis of the iPod. The National Unity Platform apparently is receiving some of this money. The party has not come out explicitly to state what kind of money it's getting or the funds that have been able to be effected on those accounts. Ugandans, and especially the opposition, including the president of the Democratic Party, Mr. Norbert Mao, believe that the National Unity Platform principle and some other actors within the party may be actually steadily moving towards what politicians like Thomas Tayebwa and Anita Among have moved. What do you say about that?
First of all, our vision flag bearer is not a politician.
What is
anybody who accustoms him to being
a politician is a person who engages in the conduct of politics. Kyagulanyi Robert has placed himself as a candidate for political office. Why wouldn't he be a politician?
Kyagulanyi has presented himself as a liberator and a vision bearer of our generation to redeem it from the dictatorship, the military junta, the hegemony
and thereby
oligarchy
accepted the jacket of politics.
The regime. Now, you can define him in that jacket as a vehicle to delivering liberation. That is exact, and we exact with that. That is why even the existence of the NUP, it is just a political wing.
No doubt.
I have stated here on NTV about IPOD, but for the record, let me state it again.
Again, please.
IPOD does not have money, okay? IPOD is an institution that is originated by the NMID. It is not only unique to Uganda. It started from Ghana. When it started from Ghana, they thought they would import dialogue, because IPOD is dialogue, being agreeable to governance. You must not kill people who are competing with you. Genome 7 is killing people with his son Muhoz. You must not cheat elections. They are cheating elections. There must not be violence. Genome Muhoz is violent.
Those are grave accusations and
You
allegations.
Don't know what happened to Kakwenza. You took me there. I am now defining where you took me.
Okay.
Okay, so you must take the heat if it's coming. That is where
it's not. It's not the heat, but I need to be very specific.
You want me to be specific? You know Kakwenza?
Yes. Kakwenza
Rukiabasaija, a writer. You know what happened to him?
I know.
Have you heard his story, his witness story, or you want to question it?
This is something that is in the courts of law.
Have you seen Masereka?
This is something that is in the courts of law.
Courts
and
of law that denied him bail. Courts of law that are presided over by a chief justice who cannot differentiate KLM from a presidential jet. Courts of law who have Sejirinya Muhammad presided over by a now you know why Higenyi don't. Because you're talking about dialogue. Yes, you're talking about dialogue.
We do
Courts of law
we do know
that have Sejirinya Muhammad.
No doubt.
And Alan Sewanyana given bail of 20 million shillings, and then they are abducted.
But everyone gets
under the watch. Who gets?
Everyone is given bail.
At 20 million?
Especially
at 20 million? Do you want me to give you an example?
It's not upon me to figure out or even judge how much the judge decides.
Now, it is illegal for court to release a person and he is hijacked again and he's abducted. Sejirinya was granted bail of 20 million under the watch of the Chief Justice, and these people were abducted again.
Good.
That is total abrogation and respect of rule of law.
And it is something that has been registered with the authorities as a complaint.
It is not
registered. It has been registered as a complaint.
These complaints have come forth so many times. They are not coming in Dr. Kizza Besigye was the same happened to him.
Good.
At High Court. When you begin
the opportunity
IPOD
to see
the reason why we have refused to be part of dialogue is because of those underlying factors.
Refusing to be part of the dialogue is one thing.
Yes.
Receiving the funds is another. And being seen as being quoted by the government to perhaps in the next 1 year or two, one of the political leaders within NUP to be taken on, just like Thomas Tayewa and the rest have been taken on. There are people, political watchers, are looking at this as a likely scenario.
The guarantee I can give to Ugandans is that we in the National Unity Platform,
a politician giving a guarantee. I want to hear you.
No, I am telling you, and this is not about politics. We are anchored on reality. The problems that brought me to the National Unity Platform are the problems you face. You face the same health problem. You face the same education problem. The issues we are fighting for are systematic. You know how many graduates go back and do an audit of your fellow classmates who are jobless, but they all went to school like you did.
No doubt about that.
Those are the questions. They are not political. It is reality. The problem of elitism is that
the difference between the person out there and you is that you are a politician and you're actually in the thick of it.
No. I am
and
not.
That makes you an actor.
Everybody is a politician.
Good.
Because politics determines governance. Politics determines your day-to-day living.
Let's get
politics. Politics determines your taxes.
No doubt.
Politics determines the future of your country and the progress.
Talking about
so you cannot say that you are not a politician when it is making decisions that are that important.
Let's talk about that very future. During the election of the new speaker, Anita Among, it was very interesting. 66 opposition MPs voted for Honorable Asman Basalirwa. The opposition itself has a whole lot number of members of parliament. Here, I would love you to wear the jacket of the entire opposition because you do interact with them, and the decision to front Basalirwa was agreed upon during a meeting of the opposition in parliament that was led and chaired by the LOP himself, Matthias Impuga. Isn't it a damning assessment of the opposition's stand in terms of the political landscape when the numbers don't add up in the election of a speaker? We know the National Resistance Movement has the numerical advantage, but wouldn't it be, well, like some people would describe it, lovely if all the opposition members of parliament voted for the opposition candidate?
Yeah, it would be, but I mean, you have people like Mapenduzi who have gone against the National Unity Platform and yet they hold offices. We don't want to come here and be liars. There are people who have decided to go in bed with the dictator. And accustomed to the names, I can give you Mapenduzi. I don't want to be here and tell lies to the country. You know what Mapenduzi has done?
That's an accusation.
It's not an accusation. Mapenduzi is responsible for the expulsion of Zake.
And that brings into, justifies the question asked earlier.
Let me tell you, this is what I'm telling you, because you went to the numbers. If you look at the first election,
that's right,
it was 15 to Honorable Semuju. This time we drew...
Very meager.
Yes, this time we drew more consensus. The party itself got involved. We implored our 57, and in fact 4 or less. We implored our 50 members of parliament who are going to be available to the House to do the same. We are extremely proud that the numbers have come to 66. The deputy went up to 82. Yes, there are factors that we have to solve because there are people who believe in that House, senior members of the opposition, that the National Unity Platform is occupying their platform. We need to understand that. We need to bring them on board, and this is work in progress. We don't want to just stamp that it was all merry, but still a big statement of improvement on cohesiveness was stated. You just said 66. Remember the meager 15. You just said
still a long way to
you
go.
Remember, because they are 100. So if you're moving 66, that is past a half, given what you got the other time. But I have also said we are agreeable to the fact that it is work in progress.
Okay, interesting there. We are first running out of time, but I want your perspective on the fact that we have a new dispensation of leadership within the 11th Parliament. This particular House, the 11th Parliament, becomes the third to be superintended over by at least, or rather more than one speaker. Of course, there we had in 1996 James Wapahablo and Francis Ayume, and then in the early days of Parliament, in fact the very first one, when Narendra Patel took over from Mr. John Bowes Griffin. How do you see the leadership of Right Honourable Anita Among as deputized by Thomas Taiba?
For me, I don't have any hope, very unfortunately. First of all, the way they claimed the positions.
Well, it's clear you don't have any hope in that.
I believe they are going to increase their salaries.
It wouldn't be the best to prove that.
I believe they are going to increase their salaries because there was a lot of spending. Their operation spending is going to go high. There is going to be increment of impunity. The longevity of the dictator is going to be their main agenda. But I can tell them and guarantee that the power of the people is not unique to disposing General Museveni.
Many thanks,
it is
Mr.
also to them, and we have a big watch. But I wanted to
very quickly
wind up with this. The leadership of the National Unity Platform is led by our vision bearer, His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. We have vice presidents from all regions. To name it, we have Jole Mugisha from West, we have Zedriga from the North, and we have we have Nambeshe from the West.
Point being?
Our Secretary General is Lewis Rubongoya. Our Treasurer is Benjamin Gatana. Alex Waiswa is the spokesperson. Flavia Nabagabe is the leader of the women. Mr. Lee from Northern Uganda is the leader of our UK chapter, and Ainebiona has been the leader of the diaspora. So for anybody to dress us into a court of tribalism it is foolhardy, it is unfortunate, and it is ogwash.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alex Waiswa Mufumbiro, the Deputy Spokesperson of the National Unity Platform. We heard earlier, we were also expecting to speak to the chairman of the National Youth Council, Jacob Yeru, who did not make it. It would have been a good idea to see or hear some of the perspectives he could have had on this particular issue. Nonetheless, we are glad that you've been able to come through and, of course, share some of those sentiments. Let's take a break.
We are coming to Masaka with Mac Media.